Yeah, it's your boys. Terf hashtag gang. Lil Terf. Self-loathing in this bitch. Yeah. Terf gang, Terf gang, Terf gang, Terf gang, Terf gang, Terf gang, Terf gang. Terf gang. Spend 10 on a rat girl rain. That boy love do S-strays. I fuck a bitch, I'm a lesbian. Female. Couldn't buy my bitch, know what it rang. Till 15, still got pledge. Terf gang, Terf gang, Terf gang. Hashtag. Terf gang, Terf gang, Terf gang, Terf gang, Terf gang, Terf gang, Terf gang. Spend 10 on a rat girl brain. Pink brain. That boy love do S-strays. I fuck a bitch, I'm a lesbian. Couldn't buy my bitch, know when it rang. Till 15, still got wage. Terf gang, Terf gang, Terf gang. Womanhood not for rent. Gentrified, sissy clearly make things 10. Still
All right,
make
welcome
no
to
secret.
the 7th
Teens
episode
take
of
sex,
the
teens med.
Terfcast. I'm Karen.
Still Foxy.
And we are back from a few week hiatus. We were like relaxed, we were refreshed, we went to the Bahamas, we had couples counseling, and now we're back. Co-host counseling, and we're ready to talk about more stories from the wild, wild world of gender.
Yeah, these stories are pretty much what's accumulated in the interim. Most of them are still pretty recent. So this is going to be chock full, really. So if you like turf content, please.
You're in the right place. All right.
Might as well kick it off.
Yeah, let's go. What's the first thing?
So we don't really have a lead story this time around, because everything is important. Every women's issue is important. So the first thing I have listed here is that the high school runners, or at least the one who has really been in the spotlight in the media, is suing, I believe, the state,
Connecticut,
for an infringement of Title IX, I believe.
That will be interesting. I don't know if that will... I honestly have no faith that she's going to win. I think, we can bring forward Title IX lawsuits. This is in violation of Title IX because there is nothing about gender in Title IX. And Trump did take those Obama guidelines away, but a lot of scholars, even scholars who agreed with the guidelines, felt that they weren't necessarily legal. I don't know how this battle's gonna go, but I'm worried that whatever the outcome will be like that some precedent that nothing can touch in the future.
We did just have the Castor Semenya ruling, which is good. The latest news.
Well, that wasn't a legal ruling.
Yeah, I know, but still, I think they might be able to use it as precedent. I don't know too much about whether or not they can do that. As far as I understand it, there are some judges who will use international law as legal precedent, and a lot of judges and just legal spectators who really do not like that. But I know, or at least that some of the legal spectators who don't like that are conservatives. So it could happen that way, but I don't really see, as conservative as trans ideology is, a conservative just as rolling with that. So, but again, if you're an activist judge, you're not going to just take it from international law just to do that. So it's not like the sports body governs things like Caster Semenya's eligibility is necessarily conservative. I don't think.
No, I don't think they are.
From what I
If they're an
understand
international thing, they probably aren't at all.
From what I understand it, they really handled it as it should be handled, which is to say, no, you can't. We're sorry, but no.
Yeah. But that ruling only applied to people with her condition, exactly. It has no bearing on the on trans.
More literal males.
Right, exactly. So
yeah,
I guess we'll keep our eye out on.
Here's the other thing, though. This story has really been piquing more people than I've ever seen.
Is it?
I think so. Like, I'm fairly sure that this story now has been the thing that I've heard the most people say, you can identify however you want, which you can't, but okay. But you shouldn't race against girls and stuff like that, which is 100% true. It's really disgusting what these quote unquote trans athletes are doing.
Yeah. Someone made the comment that we don't see. It's always like cycling and other sports like that. In like rugby, we don't see trans women trying to get in there in gymnastics and like synchronized swimming and
Right.
That it's like stuff that men are good at.
Like probably like if it was something like synchronized swimming or gymnastics, I think that would actually be honestly maybe even a moving story.
Well, that's about technique and other things. Like, it's almost like if it was gymnastics in some sense. I suppose men can get like more powerful
like jumps
and stuff. But it is more subjective, like
finesse,
a gymnastics routine. It's about finesse and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of I think the argument is that these other sports are about technique and stuff too, and it's like, well, you can like make up for lack of technique. Like, think about I'll just use football as an example. In the case of getting open, a wide receiver or a tight end or even a running back getting open, if you're running a route, then you can have like really great dexterous footwork. You can really catch your opponent by surprise and be somewhere where they don't expect you to be. I mean, you're the man covering you, and that would be a way for technique to get you open. And there's other things like like your hands being at the right place at the right time. Just the timing of the entire route, or you can just get by with just like blazing fast speed. So,
right.
But if you have both, then you're a great receiver. And
then I mean, like, if you have power, like if technique is equal, if two people have equal technique, like they've put the time into getting the particular, like getting their legs to move in a particular way, then power is going to be the determining tiebreaker.
Right. Which makes it that comment of, I think it was Andrea Yearwood, her thing where she said that the girls should just work harder, even more disgusting, because so they should work harder to overcome your natural advantage. So they should work like twice as hard as you. You literally think it's fair to make them work twice as hard as you? Are you like? Yeah. I know you're a little teenage boy, but like good God, go fuck yourself! I swear to God.
And Andrea Yearwood reminds me of like the like you. you know that she's from like a nice neighborhood, right? Because she's such a like bitchy, like the HSTSs
Yeah.
are that are just so like that. Yeah, I don't know. Women, you should not just be like the AGPs are infuriating for a different reason, but the HSTSs can be just as
Tell
entitled.
me about it.
All right. Well, it's the end of women's sports. What can I say? I don't know. I don't want to be. I don't know if it is or not. I mean, I know people are saying that like it's the end of women's sports. It does seem to me like people argue all the time like, no, why are we splitting up sports by gender? Let's split it up by ability. And you're like, okay, well then you're gonna have like one division that's just men. It's the very best, and then you're gonna have another division, like the pool for the other divisions is going to move from women, and it's going to be the best women, to all the middling men, all the men who are shit at their sports, and the best women. Like, just the numbers
Right.
of women who could participate in sports would go down dramatically. Yes, technically, some women would still make it. Some women who really wanted to work super hard and train their whole lives wouldn't make it, and a few would because they would have like some genetic gift so that they can like compete with like mediocre men.
Right. I have this question in my head now. Not that I think that sports should be divided up in such a way, and for the reason you just laid out. But do you think it's natural for men's sports to be more popular than women's sports then, because men have advanced physical ability?
You know what? I do, but I also think that people aren't selling women's sports correctly. Like, I mean, I think that there is going to be a natural, like, I want to see something that no human on the planet can do. Because men's sports, it's not even men, right? It's just, like, genetically perfect people, like, from around the world. But, I think that women's sports could probably use a little bit of PR. Like, I think women's sports could do better. Because if you want to watch the game, as a team, trying to achieve something, as a struggle, instead of just like that star player versus that star player, if you want to watch it as a team, then women's sports can be pretty interesting.
Right. Here's something else, actually. I remember this now. I'll admit, I think this is established. I don't watch that many women's sports, blah, blah, blah. But,
I don't watch any.
aha, I am the true feminist.
Yeah.
So, this was not this time around, which I know is happening right now, but the last time around the World Cup, I remember I'm not the biggest soccer fan, but I remember I can, from the very little I've seen, I can tell there is quite a difference between women's soccer and men's soccer, and that's true of, I think, pretty much every organized sport where there's a sex division. Is You know what it is that these women have perfected their craft. They, are as strong as they're going to get, but that's not the appeal of watching them. The appeal is their, their technique and how, good they are at having perfected that technique. Now, that's not always the case in men's sports where like somebody is like super powerful or whatever. So it's still valuable, women's sports is, in relation to men's sports, because that is not the only exciting thing about sports, is seeing how powerful somebody is or how fast somebody is.
Right, or why not? Why don't you just watch like a free throw shooting contest. You know what I mean?
And if you have the sort of the mixed sex division that you talked about, you're gonna get those middling men who have like, no technique, but still have more power, or enough power to beat women at the sport, and they're gonna be in it, and that sucks. That's not even aesthetically pleasing. So
And
that
also,
you can't even have like an objectivist take on that, like a meritocratic take on that, because it isn't. So
and they can improve, right? Like, you can get into a sport, you can get into the division based on your skills at one moment, and if you're getting into that at the top of your game as a woman, but only the middle as a man, that means that as a man you can improve anyway. Like, you're already in that division, you're already allowed in, and now you can go train and improve.
Right. So yeah, it's all fucked, and just hopefully legally, they will peak along with the rest of us.
So, all right, what's next?
Oh boy, this is probably the newest story among these, which is just incredible. Vermont set to join handful of states in removing SRS minimum age for Medicaid recipients. Like, what? Remember, like, when like an argument was like, it's not a literal child sex change. We're responsible enough, and like, so this is now where we're at with this. For real?
I mean, I've talked to people in the UK who've said, like, we don't use puberty blockers out of one side of their mouth and then out of the other side of their mouth saying, like, we need all these things because,
Trans
like,
rights.
yeah, because trans kids are dying, and it's like, you can't tell us that, like, nothing's wrong because you're not doing that thing, and then say, but we'd really like to do that thing. What is wrong with you?
Oh my God.
This just bums me out. I don't know where it is, but, if you ever want to be really bummed out, go look at our D-Trans
Oh,
subreddit.
RG-Trans is a beautiful place.
I mean, it's really great. It is great if you are detransitioning, especially, or if you are a trans person who's kind of like maybe not sure what your path is anymore. It's awesome, and it's super supportive, and people are friendly and funny. But if you're just a normie like me, and you're just looking at the patterns of things, seeing all of the, young men and women in the, like, right around 21 seems to be the average age, saying, like, what the fuck have I done with my body? How can I ever, especially the men who get the SRS to have their penises turned inside out. I mean, what are they going to do now? Some have just kind of gone like, okay. I did see one thing where a dude was just like, you know what, I'm gonna take it in stride. I'm a man with a pussy. That's fine.
Yeah. Well, that's really all you can do. It's just this whole thing really does just ignore detransitioners. Like, oh, and I know this might be jumping the gun a little bit. This whole argument that, like, we need this because people are going to kill themselves. So dysphoria is absolutely a social contagion, and I'll tell you how it is. Because first off, like, trans is a bit of a social contagion. Now, and it just feeds off the fact that gender isn't real. And so this mutilation, this wave of mutilation, if you will, sweeping the nation. And people, like, will make the argument about, like, like, oh, they're gonna kill themselves otherwise. Do you know, like, you can make yourself feel worse than you really do if you think that it's, like, socially the thing to do, which, having more dysphoria is seen as more valid. Having, it's not just even seen as more valid, it's also like, even, it's validating in the first place. And so, like, if you have ROGD, then it's not even just necessarily that you have gender dysphoria or more gender dysphoria that you would have had in the first place. But it is, because it's sort of unlocking this notion in your head that, it's not, finite or whatever. And it really makes sense for women, because they're having their gender especially sucks. Like, not that there aren't a lot of problems with being male as well that I can attest to. But just, like, people just don't seem to understand that this isn't, like, a fixed identity. That, like, a trans person isn't, an inherent thing like being black or something. Not even just being gay. But, like, that, like, this is how we talk about identity in this day and age, as if it's just so set as such that, like, a trans kid is an inherent proposition. That's their inherent gender identity. And that notion erases detransitioners, which I sort of am, so that's upsetting.
Yeah. Well, I just think in general, it's like we're just giving way too much, like, weight to our feelings about things, because everybody thinks that it's the easiest, gentlest, nicest, kindest thing to do, but you gotta be cruel to be kind, I think, in a sense, when it comes to teenagers, especially. What the fuck?
Fuck!
So yeah, I mean, I just don't see how anyone can see that this is a good idea to have children rushing into, because yeah, I don't know. It's been talked to death, honestly. It's just stupid, and it's crazy that it's coming. Like, what do we have to do to fight these people? Like, why are they so successful? Why is it that, like, somebody wants to lop the dicks off of young gay boys is getting so far? I don't understand it. But
it's because I don't know, that's just, like, the rhetoric is just so amped up that, like,
yeah,
that, like,
it's a mistake.
you feel so, like, you're expected to feel so tortured in the wrong body or whatever. And it's like, this is just, like, there's so many reasons why this is, the way it is for dysphoric people. And it's not, a genetic one that needs to go right into that. Like, I swear to God, this is why transmedicalism is, like, even worse, because they support this shit. Like, I'm sure there's plenty of transmedicalists who would not support these things, like, on an individual basis, but this is where transmedicalism leads. So, yeah.
Well, I mean, not necessarily, because you could have transmedicalism that you say, like, only people who are 18 and over should be taking.
You could,
whatever. But
like, it's this notion, though, that trans is a medical condition to be treated, is like, well, are you just gonna let minors not get treatment? And that's, like, even worse. Children are suffering. So
yeah, that's a good point. I mean, I do know I know that, like, Jesse Singal and some other people
I've come around.
who are very critical of trans stuff. They do believe that there are, like, true trans. They believe that there are some trans kids, or some kids who, they may not be women or whatever, but that this is the best course of action for them. But I do, I wonder where's the study that compares transitioning to not transitioning, or transitioning to getting a particular kind of therapy, like cognitive behavioral therapy or whatever. Like, I really just don't feel like much else has been tried in this regard. I mean, it used to be like they saw 12 cases a year because the shit that came there was so extreme. And even of those kids, most of them didn't end up transitioning. So maybe 12 is too small. But, like, now there are just, like, these waiting lists, and yeah, I don't know. It's crazy. But whatever. Yeah, let's move on.
Yeah. This next one is going to be, oh boy, it finally happened, everybody. Male, transgender, which means an MTF, accused of beating woman nearly to death over political discussion.
I wonder what the political discussion was. I mean, I could guess.
Is it not in the story here?
I don't think so. It doesn't say, like, she's a TERF. It doesn't say, like, that the lady was voting for Trump. It doesn't really say anything about the lady. Like, so I don't know what's the politics then. But clearly, that whatever the politics are, it's just like, you don't agree with me, so I'm gonna beat you and
that's just the way it goes. That's just the way it goes now. Is people think they've got a moral imperative. It's almost like bipolar disorder is just becoming, the norm for politics.
It's just really strange.
You're an evil person because blah, blah, blah. Mm-hmm. And, even, people will roll their eyes at me, saying that, Republicans aren't evil. Evil isn't real, yo.
Yeah.
They have, reasons for being, racist, or, even I wouldn't even say being racist is a thing, because unless, everybody is, or, having the, the particular, biased attitudes that would cause racism to, be a part of one's legislation. Stuff like you have to really talk about stuff more like that. Then just everything is just a hard identitarian is or is not, which is just not how anything works.
Yeah.
And it kills the capacity for nuance, because if something is either good or bad, then it becomes impossible to go in and look in it and see that because this thing is not defined as an object, or even a person, which is even stupider. You can't separate the good, the bad from that if it has to be consolidated as good or bad itself.
Yeah.
Because every moment of a film would be either preferred or not preferred, and every action or belief that a person holds would be preferred or not preferred. And if you are attempting to beat someone to death over something like that, then you're completely discounting every ounce of good and humanity that they even have. And for some reason, that has become the fucking norm in left politics.
It's insane.
Which is what the fuck are we doing?
So they are friends, it seems. These two people. I looked at more into the other articles that other news reports of it. So it seemed like they were friends, because it just said they were discussing politics on a Saturday afternoon, and the victim asked Linda to be quiet, which enraged Linda to the point where he grabbed a baseball bat and continuously struck the victim, and then blocked the door and refused to let the victim leave. And the victim said, "I was going to die. She wouldn't let me. She smashed my phone, wouldn't let me call nowhere, wouldn't let me out the door, and put a shovel under the door." The victim told investigators, "I would have died if I hadn't gotten away."
It's womanly behavior right there.
It's womanly behavior, although this does sound very like, I don't know, like, I want to know more about the victim. I hope that some Wisconsin turf can like go to the trials and stuff, because that would be interesting to learn more details on this. Yeah, I do like, it's kind of strange because like now every newspaper is reporting on this crime, on these crimes committed by trans women, but they're no longer allowed to say that the person is a trans woman. They can't misgender them. So the only recourse really is for photographs to be on there.
That doesn't even necessarily help.
No, because I've definitely seen some false positives where TERFs thought just a really ugly woman was a trans woman. But yeah, right, it doesn't always help. And then, it could be that you have a trans woman commit a crime who's already spent so much money that they look pretty passing in their photo.
Like I've seen even this one. I've seen brickier trans women than this.
Sure.
So
yeah. Yep. So it's like it's just hidden male violence because some fucking fat assholes decided that like women don't matter. And I guess I mean fat in like the capitalist sense. I'm very body positive and fat positive.
Okay.
I like fat people generally. But, fat cat. Just like, yeah, I don't know. I just feel like people can't even wrap their minds around the idea that like letting men with mental disorders get what they want might harm women. It blows their minds. They can't even comprehend. They couldn't even imagine a world in which that was the case, which is just crazy to me.
Well, that's just what happens when you don't listen to women. It really is striking, how different radical feminist ideology is from the mainstream to me. And, the whole reason why that is because women just aren't listened to. We have, a liberal feminist movement, but the liberal feminist movement is based on a lot of patriarchal ideas. So, even those women haven't been, listening to women. Maybe, I don't, that's not entirely it, I'm aware, especially since I'm male over here with this. But it really is just how marginalized women's ideas have been. That this is where we're at.
Yeah, I know. Oh, next, what do we got?
Oh boy, the young are regarded as the most tolerant generation. That's why results of this LGBTQ survey are alarming. Yeah, and that result being the number of Americans 18 to 34 who are comfortable interacting with LGBTQ people slipped from 53% in 2017 to 45% in 2018, the only age group to show a decline, according to the annual Accelerating Acceptance Report. And that is down from 63% in 2016.
Yeah.
So,
well,
thanks a lot, assholes.
Yeah. So this, I've read the report. It's very, I'm trying to think, like, what is the media angle? Because this report, like, as science, like, you can't look at it as science. This is all just propaganda. It was, you ask particular questions, you only report particular results, and then you send it off to the, newspapers with, like, basically they have to tell a particular story. So, like, what is the story? What are they trying to say here? Because these things don't mean anything. Like, 36% of people are uncomfortable if their, like, teacher comes out as LGBTQ. Well, which one? Is it gay? Is it lesbian? Is it trans? Is it, like, I just don't like fucking straight people who call themselves queer. Like, you don't know. We have no idea what any of this actually means, what those people mean, because the questions are stupid. And I will note, if you look at the report, it shows you that overall, people didn't have, like, one of the questions they asked was seeing a same-sex couple hold hands. And then they don't show that question again for the 18 to 34. Like, the report is so short that it's almost just made so that people could write this article. It's crazy how much data is just not there. So what are they trying to say? What do they want people to think? Is it like, oh, we still have to keep giving to gay rights organizations because the fight will never be won? Like, what?
My ass, what else do they have to do besides, like, I don't know, the fucking bakery thing?
Right. Exactly. But I just feel like there's kind of like a doom and gloom kind of a thing, because they want to make sure that people are still scared that they're gonna, because they want to, it's that T is so far at the end that they want people to think that it's gay rights. Not LGBTQ rights, but gay rights are slipping.
Yep. No, exactly. 100%. And I used to think it was like, oh, no, please don't break them up. Please don't, like, get the T out or get the L out or whatever. Like, we have to be together. But they have nothing to do with each other. They really don't. And I will say that, like, I love polling. It's not a science at all. Especially because, if you look at, like, Real Clear Politics, which I do on the reg, that there's so many different results you can have. Like, Joe Biden can be at 35% 1 week, and he can be at 20% the next week. It's not even a week; it's like the next poll. And some of them are outliers, and it's like, well, I mean, people are clearly doing their best. I don't know, like, how a poll would be necessarily so fucked up, especially because, like, these are all reputable polling organizations, and some of their polls are outliers and some of them aren't. But anyway,
I mean, you could take a good poll and still be sneaky with it by only releasing certain information. And you can also cause a poll to not give you reality. You can write the question such that it won't reveal what you don't want it to reveal.
However, like, if there is some accuracy to this, we all know why that acceptance rate would have slipped, and it has nothing to do with LGB.
Right.
It has everything to do with, like,
the T and the Q.
What is this comfortable interacting with LGBTQ people, right? So lesbian, gay, and bisexual people don't have the same set of fucking demands just for interacting with them that trans people and quote unquote queer people do.
Right.
Like, it's all this pronoun fucking crap. New names, you better see me as a woman, shit like that. And, like, it's, and that's, like, that being the only way to, like, even interact with somebody, appropriately now is like that. Like, what the fuck are we doing? I've asked that question already before this episode, but I'm just like, I'm just increasingly baffled at how people think like this is an acceptable way to behave, and there are people indulging them at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if that stuff is down. Didn't also young women specifically get more uncomfortable?
Well, they didn't get as uncomfortable as men. So from men, it
Uh,
went from 65%, or sorry, 62% were allies in 2016, and so an ally was a respondent who was very or somewhat comfortable in all situations. So males went from 62% in 2016 to 35% in 2018. Females went from 65 to 52. So they didn't drop as much.
no.
I hope they do.
That's a shame.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's terrible. Just like, just women who feel so guilted
Yeah.
into supporting trans ideology, or they're just like they think that we're like their gay best friend and stuff. Like, but even better because we're like a woman too.
Yeah. So I mean,
That's not how it works. And you're gonna be fucking surprised. I'm sorry.
so this was taken in 2018, so I like can't even remember like what the landscape was, but the biggest like uncomfortable personal situation thing to grow in discomfort was learning my child had a lesson on LGBTQ history in their school. And I don't really know why that one would be, because that one jumped from 27 to 39% of people were uncomfortable with it. But I have a feeling people were thinking like not so much about just history, but just the whole thing. But I mean, I can kind of understand it. Like, we don't talk about the history of like marriage in school either. Like, why is sexuality like straight marriage? Like, I just don't.
Well, because it's an identity.
It's an identity for sure. I mean,
It's
I could see doing it in like middle school or something when like kids are coming out as gay. I don't, maybe just doing it as part of just like a rights thing, right? Like there was civil rights and women's rights and gay rights. Like put that all together. I don't know. It's just, it seems strange to me to teach kids about sexuality. I feel like there's a way to be,
I'm not sure.
to be not
I don't know if it's
homophobic,
necessarily.
But I mean, maybe it's good. It's hard to say.
I don't know.
It depends on what they teach.
Part, I don't really think. It would depend on what they teach, but I don't think I have much of a problem with that.
Mm-hmm. And then the second one to move to way more discomfort was 24% were uncomfortable with learning a family member is LGBTQ, and then 36% was uncomfortable in 2018. So it went from 24 to 36. It's I guess not insignificant.
Wait, you mean it went from 36 to 24?
No. 24% were uncomfortable in 2016, and 36%, nearly 40%, were uncomfortable in 2018 with learning that a family member is LGBTQ.
Well, again, that's because trans. I can tell you right now, being trans fucks up your family.
Yeah.
Being gay is not going to fuck up your family.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe it would have at some point, but now, I don't know.
I do.
And, like, yeah.
Well, I was going to say, I do think that this move from, like, less acceptance, I do think some of it is... I do think most of it is the fault of trans advocacy going too far, but I do think that some of these people have moved into like painting the whole, like you lump them all together, so they're just like, all right, you're all fucking crazy. Like it is homophobia, but it starts with like, well, these people don't even know what a man or a woman is. Like...
Right.
Yeah.
Oh.
Let's move on
Let's see
to
anything
other
else here.
things similar. Wait, what was the next thing?
So this story has been pretty big.
Oh, yeah.
Teenager 17 suspended from school after insisting there are only two genders.
Murray!
Reveals he spoke out in dangerous. Oh yeah, no, never mind. That's the main thing.
This is about Murray, right?
Yeah.
Murray.
This kid is a dumbass. I'm sorry.
He is. He's just like a.
He doesn't even know that gender and sex are different, and then all these TERFs are like hopping on his dick, like, oh, he's been suspended for telling the truth. The truth is there are only two genders? Really? Like, that's the truth to you.
Well, it depends on.
There are only two genders because they were invented by patriarchy, but you can invent as many fucking genders as you want.
He got expelled.
They're dumb, but you know. Okay, yeah. He was expelled now.
Yeah, he's expelled now.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean.
Still, I mean, I don't endorse that, even if the kid is stupid as hell.
Yeah, I mean, I think he is stupid, but he's like should be allowed to be stupid.
He's 17.
And I like Scottish accents or whatever, so I enjoyed watching the video.
Okay. Yeah, that's the most important part here.
Yeah. Probably gonna take some umbrage with you saying red flags are jumping on a 17-year-old boy's dick, but I'm gonna let it go.
Well, they are!
Yeah, maybe not the best use of language. Choice of words. But
yeah.
It's fine. So yeah.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Well, I mean, I'm just gonna skip ahead.
They are too uncritical of, this kid.
Well, but this
is more they're more,
Are they more just excited
on this right-wing talking point?
Yeah, I mean, you know what though? I don't really see like. Yeah, maybe the right-wingers don't have as perfected of an argument or as good of an argument as the rad femmes, but it doesn't mean that their arguments aren't similar or valid or like what they're seeing, how they're seeing it. And I don't think right-wingers, honestly, like, right-wingers have gender. They like gender, right?
Mm-hmm.
They like the roles, but they don't see it. They can't see it as separate because it's so naturalized for them. They just see it as like men in general are like this and women in general are like that. And you don't know unless you talk to them at how opposed or unopposed they are to women and men stepping outside of those boundaries. So yes, they don't believe gender and sex are separate, even though they do believe in gender, because they don't fucking take gender studies courses. They're not interested in seeing them as separate, but they also know that things don't that their boundaries are fuzzy and that people exist outside of them. There's tons of conservatives who, a conservative doesn't look at a not every conservative anyway, doesn't look at like a gay man wearing a dress and go, well, that's a woman. Even if that dude was perfectly performing womanhood. They go, well, that's a man trying to be like a woman.
Right, which is correct.
Yeah, and like a lot of them are probably like, well, that's weird. Don't bring it over here, but I'm not going to like run out and murder you. Like, I don't know.
Anyway,
So Murray...
Murray. He shouldn't be suspended from school. He should learn more. He shouldn't be expelled from school. The main thing to talk about with this, I guess, is just, how like fucking extreme, UK stuff can get. UK doesn't seem like it has any laws at all. It seems like a fucking Wild West, because like just shit like this just keeps happening, and it's like, like what happened to they just don't have the right to free speech over there.
I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, a lot of
It's
Europe just seems to be able to be like guilt tripped into stuff. In some sense, I'm really happy for our conservative, including our social conservative. Like I didn't realize that they had any value, but at least they can push back on stuff where like liberals are being unnecessarily guilt tripped into things and into like giving up rights and stuff. I don't know. The whole thing everywhere is just such a shit show. But yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, in the UK, there's just like TERFs being put in jail and like people, oh, I heard you tweeted this. It's just crazy. Just crazy. I'm glad I don't live in the UK, and I'm really glad that I don't live in Canada. I used to really want to live in both. And now I'm like, fuck that. I don't want to live in Canada and have to like wax Yanni's balls.
Well, I don't know if that'll go anywhere.
There was some changes on
But,
that, but I don't. Maybe that's later.
I think it might be. Yeah, not much to say on Murray.
Yeah, I mean, he identifies as an attack helicopter. Like, he's that kind of kid, but it's fine.
So cool.
Yeah. All right. So what's next?
All right. Next is this one's pretty old, but I think we better talk about it. Monroe Bergdorf is a messy bitch who lives for drama. That's just what I have written. I don't have anything linked from that because it was like a bunch of shit was going wrong with her. It was that she got like kicked off like a children's charity.
Oh, right.
And she was like, it's transphobic, blah. And it's like, Monroe Bergdorf is a dumbass bitch, and it should be clear that she shouldn't be talking to people like this anyway. She was one of the people who were like, there was a brief thing of her and then multiple people who were like, I'll be your older sister, whatever, blah. If your family is not supportive. I think that was her.
Yeah.
Yeah, and also, has modeled for Playboy and stuff.
Yeah.
So, think about it. Like, come on.
He was just a bad, the charity got all kinds of guff for removing him from his position, but he was just never a good choice in the first place. It's okay to be a bad choice for a children's charity. We can't all be everything. We can't all be super, sexy and doing whatever we want adult-wise, and then, it's just so fucking weird. Like, I don't get it. Like, why do some people have to be, whatever. I don't know. I'm not getting it too far into it. But the reason why this all sort of came back into light in the last few weeks was because the guy who recruited her, the guy who did it, who was actually a guy, he was busted making porn in rubber pants in the bathroom at the children's charity. And then a bunch of leftists defended him and said that anybody who had a problem with it was being homophobic.
It was just a kinky.
Yeah, it's basically like, what do you mean kinky people can't be around children?
Well, that doesn't make any sense at all. That's like saying it's like just having kids watch R-rated movies.
Yeah.
I mean, you can do it, but you probably shouldn't do it too much. So,
well, certainly
not, the equivalent of shouldn't be kinky around children at all.
Or around it just tells me that if you have such little self-control that you need to masturbate and make porn in the bathroom of your work at a children's charity, you are you're just too far gone. You just have you're just not a good role model for children. I don't understand why adult sexuality has to be so in the forefront of everything, and we're all bad people for going that's a little icky.
Well, then,
Nothing's
and then
icky.
Munro
No.
Bergdorf
Yeah. Go ahead.
was also sexualized.
Right.
Now, I don't know. I kind of do think nothing is icky, but at the same time, it's just common sense that, some things are probably not for children.
Yeah. All right.
Because they're not going to be able to fucking comprehend it. So,
and also you're
just like,
yeah, go ahead.
Children think that, like, or, I think, like, a key to, I don't know, parenting is not just, just necessarily saying something I think is bad, so you keep away from it because you have to do what I say, and this is my worldview. It's more just like you don't understand this yet, and you don't have the capacity to understand this yet, nor should you be attempting to understand this yet. And when you can understand this, it'll be different, but now you will be kept away from it. I don't know, that's how I see it, but I'm not the parent of us two.
Well, I think that you can normalize sexuality in front of children, which can lead to them, they don't understand it, but they are used to it, and that can give abusers an in into abusing those kids and into grooming them and such. So that's depressing. Let's move on. What?
Munro Bergdorf. Oh, real quick. I just looked up the latest news on Munro Bergdorf. Charity that fired Munro Bergdorf might be suffering the consequences. The NSPCC reported an unusually high number of donation cancellations in the week following Bergdorf's dismissal from a child line, not childlike. Anyway, child line. So that's not good. I don't know. It's just, I guess people just want, kink to be a part of the LGBT now because it's, deviant sexuality, which makes sense. I'm going to be honest. It does. But at the same time, like, we're getting into some iffy territory when we're talking about kids in the same conversation as, like, I don't know, like leather daddies and stuff.
Yeah, for real. For real.
And, like, because this is a much broader conversation because, people develop kinks when they're kids. But, like, when you say stuff like kids are or can be kinky, as I've heard, was it Alec Vaidmanan say something? Some fucker like that said that anyway. Then you know what it sounds like.
It's just,
and you know what, like, you're thinking of when you say something like that.
It's not where we should have the.
It's got to be child pornography.
Yeah, it's not where we should have the society moving towards. All right, what's next?
Next is this is the last real, like, news story. Now I couldn't find anything else about this, only a tweet. But this is fucked up if true. The Scottish government is proposing up to 2 years in prison for making a false statement when you swear to continue living in your acquired gender until death. Hard to know where this leaves detransitioners.
Interesting.
It was proposed by Action for Trans Health also. So, what the hell? They would propose something like that?
Yeah.
Well, that just shows contempt at that point for anybody who doesn't buy in their cult.
It's dangerous.
It's not just dangerous, it's the most fucked up thing I've ever heard. Like,
yeah.
You would put people in prison for doing that because it's like some kind of, like, the issue at hand is something like an a breaking of an oath. What the hell is it with UK law? Like that like this would be acceptable.
I
The UK is a total fucking nightmare state. Like I can't imagine having to live there.
yeah, no. But at the same time, those women are probably getting the most done. The TERFs in the UK.
No, yeah, no, yeah. Like bless their heart.
Yeah.
Like not ironically.
Right.
Like bless them for
Yeah.
real. They're angels.
Yeah. I do think that there's probably enough trans people, even the, radiqueer sect, that wouldn't like that guideline. That for the 2
Right.
years imprisonment.
Yeah, but
Because
like,
there's
whoever,
lots of
it's
people
like,
well, what if they're gender fluid and they don't know it yet or whatever? I could see that not actually
Right.
happening, but it would be interesting if they were like, here, TERFs, to appease you, we're gonna make, you're worried that people are gonna identify as a woman just to get into
God.
a bathroom or whatever.
Shit, you're right. This is why that is.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Like I don't even like how to like start like the level of identitarianism we're on if that is what they're fucking dealing with.
Yeah.
Just like, oh yeah, we'll prove that trans people are who they really are.
Yeah.
By having this kind of shit. Excuse me, like again, like, can like we get like a detransitioner to speak before Congress, please?
I don't think.
Like even if it's like Walt Heyer.
Yeah, even if it's I don't think people understand,
fucker.
like normal people, everyday people don't understand like that the reason why every trans legislation suggestion is so it creates some kind of firestorm and people are like upset about it is because every move is bad because the premises are false to begin with. So every way that you try to deal with it when in this position that it's in right now is bad because it's just bad. It sucks. Every argument sucks. Everything is just, it's like you have to like start from the beginning, like of male and female, and it's upsettingly bad. The whole thing is shit. And that's why everything new that they come up with is even more shit. Because it was always shit. It's going to keep being shit. It's just shit.
Right. All right, well, dumb online shit.
Perfect.
This is great news. Yay. Oh my gosh. It is indeed the J.K. Rowling is a TERF story. You know why she's a TERF now? There was speculation because of her liking some tweets. She likes some tweets.
And she followed some people. I don't think the liking the
now
tweets
she
or
has
anything
now
new.
she has followed our dear friend Fionn Orlander, as well as popular TERF YouTuber Magdalene Burns. So shout out J.K. Rowling, whose books are for children. But it's oh my God, this is such a delight. This is probably the most famous TERF we have.
Yeah. For sure. I mean, she's a billionaire, right? Or she was before she gave money to charity. This would be our first TERF billionaire.
So, yeah. That's great. Give some money to women's.
Yeah.
Like, give some money to anti-LGBT causes, please.
Yeah. Not anti-LGBT, just.
Well, that's what they mean now. So, go ahead. Yeah. Dole it out.
I think this is really funny because, so her crimes were liking some tweets, none of which we already knew about. If you followed it, it's already been circling in the tranosphere that J.K. Rowling's a TERF. So she liked a couple tweets. She followed a few people.
She hasn't tweeted a damn thing. Wait, I think she might have retweeted something at some point.
Maybe, yeah. And I think she apologized for it, said she had like a middle-aged moment or something. So the funny thing is that to me, as a TERF, J.K. Rowling is clearly a TERF. You don't follow Magdalene Burns if you're not pretty. I mean, I suppose she could say like, I'm just trying to find out what's going on all sides, But, I mean, you definitely, Magdalene Burns is, like, pretty TERF specific. But it's funny to watch, like, there's trans people who love Harry Potter, and they're really trying to, like who have Harry Potter tattoos and stuff, and they're really trying to, like, figure out how they can, like, explain and justify, like, I guess I have to separate the art from the artist.
So
and
funny.
And then there's lots of trans people who never liked Harry Potter. They've always thought it was annoying. They've always thought it was annoying that it was popular. They've always thought it was annoying that other people like it. So they're just like, I can't,
well, let's talk about
finish that.
Yeah, let's talk about the ones who do like them.
Sure.
For the first, because that is the funniest fucking shit in the world. That is so funny. Already, I've been over this a million times about how I don't care about the morality or the politics of the artist, no matter what. Like, again, like, we have to. What are people gonna do about the canonical important films of Roman Polanski? Again, you can't do anything about them. What is it, like Picasso? Like, he's pretty fucked up, right?
Sure.
So again, this is just so dumb. But like, and then just to watch it play out in this sphere because she liked and followed people, and people are just freaking out.
Yeah.
Oh, it makes my heart laugh and sing.
There's a lot of people who would be otherwise subscribed to cancel culture who cannot accept this one and are, like, hypocritically like, well, I follow Donald J. Trump, and that doesn't mean that I'm a Trump supporter. I think that it's kind of funny. I'm sure the really radical trans advocates are like, fucking liberals, see, they're gaslighting us and telling us that it's just liking a few tweets. I mean, and it's probably true. J.K. Rowling is probably a TERF. But, it's also true that, like, it's okay to be a TERF. That's not the same as being a Nazi. It's not anywhere in the ballpark of being a Nazi
I have no
or
idea.
fascist.
No idea where that came from. Actually, I do know where it came from. Just men.
Yeah. Idiots.
Having, like, everything be about them, and like, oh, if you don't like me, you must be so bad that you're a Nazi. A feminazi even.
TERFs are fascists. What do you think a fascist is?
Right. Well, they just don't know what, like, TERF ideology is.
They don't know what anything is. They're idiots.
They don't. They're dummies.
Yeah.
They are, just wrapped up in, male mindset, which is so fucking funny because that's the whole. They think that, like, they have, like, a woman's brain, but really their mindset is just so male that, like almost any woman should be able to see it. Really.
Yeah. I saw a funny meme that was the dude with the, like, the butterfly. Like, I don't know what the original, like, anime it is, but
I don't know what it is.
This and it was like the butterfly was labeled masturbating into your mom's underwear, and then it said, "Is this womanhood?"
Right.
Yeah, it's just like when you're doing, like, the most male shit, like being rude to women, sexualizing women, all of these things are just so fucking male, and it's like, am I a woman? I think I'm a woman because I got, like, I like my gold lame purse or whatever.
Gold lame, that'll never get old.
Charles,
god damn it, that guy. Yeah, well, J.K. Rowling TERF.
Confirmed.
Shout out J.K. Rowling. Never thought I'd say it. Yeah. So yeah, just please, for the love of God, J.K., go full Glinner.
Do it. Yeah, make this your full-time hobby.
What do you have to lose? Your career's over.
Yeah, nobody wants to read your new books.
You're old as fuck. Like, well, okay, no,
she's not even.
But if she was old as fuck, then she would have nothing to lose.
It's funny.
But, like, it's not. She doesn't do anything. She's like a recluse now, anyway. So.
Yeah.
Just do it.
Um,
Come on. You could have so much good impact for
for
women.
sure. Phil Pullman, I think is his name, the His Dark Materials, the Golden Compass writer. He kind of peeked his head out for a minute and was just like, "What's all this controversy about the trans stuff? I don't really understand it." And then like he got slammed with like TERFs and TRAs and everybody. I don't know where he ended up on the other side of it, but he just kind of disappeared like, "Whoops, better not talk about that again." So yeah, these children authors, they're all secret TERFs. You can't trust any of them.
Oh my god.
What's next?
Dr.
Yeah.
Seuss turf. He's at Dr. Seuss's. He won't prescribe you HRT, even though I have a boner at the idea of being a woman. Come on, Dr. Seuss. Nopity dopity. All right. Next is this is just a now. Okay, there's this tweet. It's just fucking annoying. 2 tweets from some faggot. Okay, cis people, please put your pronouns on your profile. 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 And anyone whose first thought in response to this is, but I don't want to be a or anything of that sort, guess what? It's transphobia.
Yeah.
What if she's okay? I already said faggot. Okay, that's all you really need. But okay. So the ideology here is that a man can look exactly like a woman and vice versa.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't believe that, then you're transphobic.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well. This is just more biological sex isn't real crap. And like this rightfully was lambasted. I think the tweets even were deleted. Because this whole fucking, pronoun in the bio crap, whether you're cis or trans, is just ridiculous because you can't control the to that degree how people talk about you. You can't control it. And people need to fucking accept that. Like, I don't understand how they think they can, do something like that.
Mm-hmm.
You think we don't need, specific pronouns to talk about, people who, specifically are male or female or, appear male or female? Actually, maybe pronouns are, just like not a thing, but like just choosing them is ridiculous. Maybe we should they everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but like, why at this point that actually is just conservative, like not having pronouns besides they for anybody at that point, like, because if we're abolishing gender, that's really how it should be. I mean, like, if you can have sexed pronouns, but that's somebody's gonna fuck with those again, because it's an outgrowth of sex to have something like that, and is gendered in such a way. So yeah, like maybe instead like they everyone just say one of the stupid tweets where you say something over and over again, but about that.
I mean, I've seen like a million different things. I've seen where like if you they a trans woman and it's really clear that she's put all this effort into her gender, then you're rude. And I think I've said this before. I think my main thing about this is that we're supposed to err on the side of affirming a trans woman, right? Like, if you're not sure if somebody is a trans woman or a very feminine guy, but you want to be socially polite, you don't want to get into any kind of shit, you don't want to be sued, you don't want to be harassed, you don't want to be bullied, then you need to err on the side of that must be a woman, right? So now we're
Mhm.
socially solidifying that woman is all of these stereotypes. So
Right.
it just seems like so completely opposite what they say they're doing, that they're trying to liberate everybody and
Yeah.
everything. But like I've read some of these like gender books for like educators and stuff, like what they're trying to say, and it really is like they say outright it's just fucking stereotypes. So it's like, but they don't explain why those stereotypes are so important, except to be like, well, it's uncomfortable not to perform the stereotypes for some people. It's like, okay, well, some people have OCD, but that doesn't mean like light switches have like a social thing that must be adhered to. You know what I mean? Like, it's just like, yeah, okay, some people have drives to do this or that or the other thing, or maybe they're mental. Like, you don't know. Why are we making
Mhm.
this so salient all the time that we're like fucking things up for women? Like, it's just very anti-feminist, and it's just shocking to me how many people who are like, yeah, I don't know. But I mean, feminism has basically just become do whatever you want. Is if you're a woman, it's feminism. So what difference? Yeah, I don't know. It's not really any different than
Yep.
anything else that's going on. All right.
All right. And now we got a Yaniv update.
Yay.
We actually got two Yaniv updates. At Twitter prevails in lawsuit filed by Megan Murphy, who sued after she was banned for misgendering. Company's decision to suspend and ban users are protected by CDA 230. That's the first one of these Yaniv updates. Um, that's not good. That's bad. The second one of these is so here's the original tweet of this from like a reporter. Dozens of demonstrators say they're appalled UBC allowed a speaker whom they say spread transphobic hate speech to come to university for a public talk. Someone asked, where was at trusted nerd? And he said, hospital. Really? What were you suffering from? I have a brain tumor. That's terrible.
Doubt.
How often are you in the hospital? Daily.
So doubt that.
Oh my god. That's just bizarre. What the hell is going on with this guy? Because even before was a thing, like he became a thing because he was like being a pedophile
Mm-hmm.
and stuff. But maybe that was just like how he wanted to launch his trolling campaign
Mm-hmm.
is to be as disgusting as possible a trans woman in a woman's space could be, um, which is pretty much true, right? And that's it's like how you think like it would cost a lot of resources to go around suing places like he
Mm-hmm.
does, but he must just have just so many. He must be so rich, and yet this is he's just I think you're right, he is just trolling, he is just this little shit. But on the other hand, I understand completely how the still the not understanding women's boundaries thing
Mm-hmm.
would play into how he is operating, even for like a quote unquote real trans woman.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, this story is just wild, man. Like I just hope it doesn't go anywhere.
Um.
And he's really pushing the damn culture, isn't he?
Yeah. Well, there is actually more Yaniv stuff. I mean,
Oh
the brain
yeah,
tumor thing. It's
yeah,
just like
yeah. You're
whatever.
right. Yeah.
So apparently
Brain tumor
this
thing is fun.
is just
But
a
yeah.
fucking liar, man. He's just like, yeah, whatever. Yeah. So
Yeah, the main Yaniv thing was
there's been an update that the court that his human rights tribunal stuff, So it did say in the ruling, the BC Human Rights Tribunal expressed its concern about the rights of transgender women to access gender-affirming care such as waxing, which the tribunal says is critical, even if this is a very intimate service that is sometimes performed by women who are themselves vulnerable. The tribunal states that JY has a genuine grievance about pervasive discrimination against transgender women, and this is the reason that the tribunal exists. The tribunal further states that it is troubled that some of JY's comments made within this process and online suggest that JY holds stereotypical and negative views about immigrants to Canada. The tribunal stated that on their face, many of the businesses which JY complains against appear to be run by people who speak English as a second language and or are racialized women. So...
Wow.
So they did...
That's interesting.
They did at least acknowledge some troubling stuff about it, even if they... Can they admit the fact that he's a pedophile in court? I don't know.
And, like, always talking about, like, seeing boobies in the bathroom?
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, it's not even just that. There was another Yanif thing, just really quick. He, like, showed up to something and just took a bunch of pictures of the other people in the pageant.
Right.
Yeah. He was trying to talk to Fionn, and she was like, stay away from women and kids, please. And he was like, nope.
Yeah.
So that's Yanif, the Yanif right now. He's truly on one, as they say. It's a theory sphere time.
All right.
I think we can fit a good one. Theory sphere this time around is about drag.
Yes.
Drag kids and drag queen story.
Yes. So.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I think everybody kind of understands the landscape that we're in right now. Like, we've got the Desmond is amazing kid. We've got Lactatia kid.
Oh my god.
And they've had their various things. And then we have drag queen story time or story hour, whatever the fuck it's called. And that's been happening at libraries across the country. And there's been a few, I'm sure that, hundreds of these are happening. There's been a few problems. Most recently, I saw one where there's pictures of, like, children lying on top of these drag queens on the ground. It's just, like, very not in line with child safeguarding. And then there's been, like, plenty of pictures of, like, drag queens in, like, fishnets and, like, thongs and... just very sexualized, like, they, it's like, it's not even, like, street sex worker kind of clothes. It's like that to the nth. It's so next level. It's so sexualized, then it's like... It's,
AGP chic, really.
I mean, I don't even think they're AGP. They're just, like...
Yeah,
but it is like that. It is like that, exactly. Yeah. It's just so... ridiculous. And and I think about this too. These are my thoughts on this that I've been thinking about a lot lately, is that clowns, like, they kind of, like, we all decided that clowns were scary, right? And, like,
I don't think
right, but as a culture, like, when I was a kid, clowns were like this childhood. Like, they were on, like, wallpaper and stuff that you would, like, put up in nurseries. Like, clowns were pretty popular when I was a kid as, like, just, like, a imagery for children.
Showing your age.
Yeah, perhaps. It was in, like, the late 90s that I noticed that, like, nobody liked clowns. So, like, people were just, like, clowns,
right. It definitely would have been post the Tim Curry It series.
And,
scared the fuck out of me as a kid. Scariest thing from when I was a kid. I'm not scared of clowns, but I'm scared of that.
So, but the makeup and stuff on clowns, like, it is scary. And I feel like this could end up backfiring. There could be, like, little kids who 10 years from now are like, man, I'm fucking so scared of drag queens. One came to my school and it freaked me the fuck out. You know what I mean? Or whatever, in my library or something. Like, oh, that makeup.
Yeah.
Because it's like, drag makeup is meant to be seen on a stage in a dark bar.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're wearing that same makeup in a library, a sunlit, fluorescent lit library with children, it's just gonna look even more fucking insane.
So.
And when I criticize this, people come at me like, and I didn't even mention the pedophiles that have been found, have slipped through the cracks and done this.
I would like to hear more about that.
I think there's been 3 at this point, where like libraries failed to do background checks, or maybe false names were given or whatever. But people get will say, and they say this with a lot of stuff. This is just like a standard leftist thing, which is like, you're painting all of them in this light by being critical of some of them. And it's like, I don't think there's anything inherently wrong with somebody who happens to be a drag queen going to a school or a library and reading to kids. I just have to ask why it being in drag is so important. And when I say drag, I mean like full fucking drag, not just like a dude in a dress, more calmed down. Like that to me would be more helpful for kids. I don't understand, like, you're going and presenting this gender shit in like insanely scary costumes. How is that helping kids get it?
Okay. I am gonna say, I think that ideally, Drag Queen Storytime is a fantastic idea that I wish I had as a kid, to be able to see, men, dressed up as a woman typically is.
But that's not how a woman typically is dressed up.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, that's the thing. But the reason why they do it this way is because men who dress as women, there's only one acceptable, identified men who dress as women, which is a drag queen, and everybody else who actually does that, normally is considered a pervert, a lot of times rightfully so, but not always. So pretty much you need, full drag hobby, or you need to transition in order to be a man who wears women's clothing and not be seen as a pervert. And that's why this is the way it is. Which is ironic because, again, there's plenty of perversion in drag, and even, people who, like you said, are slipping through the cracks here with, this access to kids now.
It's just so weird because there are totally ways for, it's like, it's just such a false, like, choice thing. There's so many ways for men to wear dresses. I've seen men wear dresses in a more like boho hippie style. Men who are still calling themselves men, are wearing like skirts basically. And then there was like the grunge scene. Like sometimes like very straight dudes would wear like some kind of dress just to like,
to be gender fuck.
Be gender fuck. And it's like,
what happened to this stuff? I swear to God.
Yeah.
So
I'm just saying, why can't these people, or why can't drag queens take a toned down version, or why can't they just be like Mother Goose or something? Why do they have to be like, it's not like, oh, you can't do it or you can, like, it's all freedom of expression. But I have to wonder, like, is this about kids even in the slightest? Do you even care about what kids like? Or is this a battle between conservatives are pissed off about it, which makes the drag queens want to do it more and makes the left want to support them no matter what, which pisses the conservatives off more, which makes the left want to do it more, which pisses off the right more, which makes the left, you know what I mean? I don't think anyone's even fucking thinking about the kids, and I think the parents who bring their kids to this shit just want woke points.
Well, they think the woke point of this whole thing is, kids should not be kept from, homosexuality because homosexuality is wholesome.
Yeah, but that's
Which,
not
sure, it
wholesome.
can
That's
be.
not
I mean,
teaching. That's
like,
not teaching kids anything
right.
about like two men loving each other. I think that's what's really getting to a lot of people. I think some people
Yeah.
are like peak
But,
gaying to an extent because it's like you told all these like normie, liberal, you know, heterosexual people that like love is love and it's about, you know, it's about men being able to have a relationship that, you know, sort of resembles, you know, marriage, like a heterosexual marriage. And now we're like, it's being thrown as like, no, being gay is about like being able to be a leather daddy and express yourself sexually. And it's like, you know, that's like a lot for people to swallow.
well, it should ideally be teaching kids something about gender nonconformity.
Right, but it teaches them about conformity.
So, I don't know. I'm still skeptical of critiques of drag queen storytime, whether or not they're like done up super crazy. Obviously, you know, there are more sexualized forms of dress, but like I don't mind scariness for kids, really. Like I don't see that being like a necessary
Well, I was
problem.
gonna say that I think it has more to do with the content, I guess. So like what they're going over. So there was like a
Oh, every now and then, yeah, that is a
well, so
problem,
there was
right?
a girl quoted, an 8-year-old girl quoted in the London Times or whatever, because this has been like exported to England now. And the girl said, like, oh, it was really fun and I learned a lot, and you don't have to be you don't have to be a girl who does girl things. You can be transgender.
Right.
Which is like not a great lesson. You can be a girl who doesn't do girl things.
Mhm. Well, I'm again like drag queen storytime should you know, be teaching them not about, you know, transgenderism though, right? Because drag queens are not trans.
No. Playing on the floor with kids, not like they're both laying on the floor, but like the kids are
Yeah.
laying on top of them, which it's like fine, whatever. That's not necessarily a bad thing in general. Like kids play with their parents like that. It's a little strange. Lots of people who work with kids are like, I would just never play with kids like this. It just goes against all kinds of like safeguarding rules that we're taught. But I just don't see why they would think that it was a good idea to do that when they're under so much scrutiny already after like 3 sex offenders have been found doing this. And you know, the only reason why they were discovered is because this is under so much scrutiny. And there's all these conservatives who are hating on it for the wrong reasons. I have like mixed feelings about it. I just don't understand why. Like I just feel like it has way more to do with the conservatives being mad and the progressives wanting to do it because it makes the conservatives mad, and then that making the conservatives more mad. Like I just don't think it has shit to do with kids.
Right. Well, that's like the thing. It's just like that speaks to the larger issue of, you know, just queer stuff being, you know, it has to be pure now, so it has to be okay for kids. Which is definitely not always going to be the case, especially with, you know, the laying on the queen photo, which is just ridiculous. All these photos with, I guess we'll get into this in just a second, of, you know, Desmond or Lactacia or whatever it is, with like almost naked adult drag queens. It's like, are you not like thinking at all? Like, now, okay, like I don't want to, you know, like I am not typically moral panic about, you know, like stuff that is sexualized and, you know, having it be around kids, but like, I mean, just use, your fucking head, because you're not using your head right now, and it's clear that you're not going to pay attention if it gets, worse.
Right. That's my concern.
So,
I don't see why a dude can't come dressed up like a fairy godmother or whatever and like read to
mhm,
kids. A pornified culture has become so used to itself that they don't see it as like putting
mhm,
sexuality onto kids. They're just like, oh, it's just like making, it's like, oh, they're like little adults. Kids like to pretend to cook and they like to pretend to be doctors, and like now they like to pretend to be sex
right,
workers. What's the big deal?
right.
And I feel like drag
Well,
kids are like, that's way worse to me than drag queens reading books.
mhm. Like, yeah, let's
Yeah.
move into that. Like, I don't, at the end of the day, the main problem with drag queen storytime is just the same problem that all of genderism has, which is that it's not being discussed properly. It's like almost understands something, but then it doesn't, and then we're teaching kids like the fucked up version of it. Like, I don't even think we should gender kids, to be honest, and so that's part of my reaction to drag kids. I certainly. Can we discuss the like how conservatives do have a tendency to view like all queer stuff as inherently more sexualized than heterosexual stuff, and like we already touched a little bit on like liberal ignorance of when that's actually true because of
Mm-hmm.
that. But at the same time, is there maybe too much, you know, radfem reaction along the same lines?
I mean, I do think that rad femmes have an aversion to male sexuality in general, whether that's gay
Mm-hmm.
or straight, and the things that are, symbolic of that, whether that's, but especially shit about like dominance and things like that. Like, there's still a long history of rad femmes being against, sadomasochism and things like that, and there hasn't really been so much of gay men, you know, coming to that. But
Now I am, again, like, I have like almost the same thing of drag queen storytime where I don't fully understand the problem with it. It's a drag queen storytime is more because if kids are learning something from it, they're not necessarily having the correct takeaway, because drag queens are not just like men in women's clothing. The drag is an entire like art, and it's I've been thinking about this lately, or it's like some rad femmes say that like it's a parody of womanhood, and to me I'm thinking like, well, does it have, but is there some sort of like gender abolitionist bent to it, or is it more maybe a parody of femininity? But I don't think men can do a parody of femininity and like have it not be a parody of
right,
womanhood. So I kind of think that drag might be like have some inherent
yeah,
problems um with it, and like I wish that I could support it more in general, because it is kind of like OG gender nonconformity, but it's just not like it's got the same problems as transness. I hate to say that any art form though has inherent problems with it, but if the point of drag is political, then it's a bad aim at the end of the day. Or not a bad aim, but like it's just like it totally like doesn't function. It would be like if the point of cinema was for feminism, and we still had, the split of male to female directors that we do.
Well,
So
I want to say
yeah,
something about drag in
but yeah,
general. Like, first
yeah.
off, one thing that we've discussed, I don't know if we've discussed it on the podcast, we've certainly discussed it in real life, or at least online, that there's no such thing
Come
as real
here.
life. We've discussed it off the podcast. I think you actually just posted something about it recently, that rad femmes can be kind of unfun. And it's my opinion that you're allowed to like things that are problematic. It's fine. You can like things that are bad, but I do think that culturally, assuming that the the general arc is toward justice, that there will come a time when we're going to look at drag. Maybe we'll be dead, but people will be like, yeah, that was really sexist. Because
it is. I'm like,
as said to me the other day, she was like, I'm sure minstrel shows were a great time. I'm
like
sure
menstrual shows.
Yeah, right. But yeah, like blackface, at one point was entertaining, and people were like, "Oh, it's not that. Yeah, okay, maybe it's problematic." I mean, they probably wouldn't use the word problematic, but but like, its time will probably show that drag. We'll probably cringe a little bit about drag in the future.
That's a good comparison, but I do want to just wrap up with drag kids here, which is I'm a little skeptical that, like, as much stuff as radfems say is sexualized. I got into an argument recently that, like, there was, the guy in question was indeed a pervert. So it may not be the greatest example, but it was a man just wearing a schoolgirl outfit was the thing in Target, and I'm just like, okay, you know what? I'm just so sick of just the constant, just like, oh, it's a fetish, blah blah blah. It's like, and I can a man wear women's clothes without being deemed dangerous by alleged gender abolitionists? And part of the response that I got was, well, all of women's clothing is so sexualized that it actually makes sense for men to be, shamed for wearing it, in I guess Western society. And it's like, I'm just like, at this point, I'm just like, just fuck off. Like, what am I supposed to do? Like, I'm not, being, a traditional man again. So, like, what the hell do you want from me? And I'm not an HSTS. I'm just not. So I don't. And we've been over why, granting them, a pass here is stupid. So this is the same thing I'm gonna apply to drag kids. Like, is this stuff that they do really always so sexualized? I understand that, like, Jasmine is amazing, danced for money and stuff like that, and also that I mean, another issue that I wanted to tackle with this, but this is like that I like, it is a thing, but again, I just don't understand why we can't tackle this with more nuance. I think that, if I was young again and I had the option to, dress up in women's clothing, I would jump at it. Like, and I think this isn't like an okay thing as long as it doesn't go too far. I hate to be a moderate in any sense, but that's where I am with this right now.
You know what? I will say that it's not the dress alone or women's clothes alone.
The pageantry?
Well, so we're not talking about... Are we talking about drag, or are we talking about just men in dresses in general, because drag is like a different thing, right? So like when we talk about drag, I'm not talking about men wearing dresses. I'm talking about men wearing like crazy prosthetic hips and crazy eye makeup and makeup in general and huge wigs and like big fake boobs and you know, and then the acts themselves are usually very, very sexual. Wearing, like, have you seen that tweet that's been going around that's like, cis women, if you see a trans woman...
Oh, yeah. I saw this years ago, too.
Yeah, I
go
just
ahead
noticed
and say the tweet, though.
It's just resurfaced. I don't have it in front of me, but it's something along the lines of like...
If you see a trans woman wearing something that looks too juvenile for her, don't say anything. She never got to have this. So
the childhood that you had or whatever.
Yeah.
I was fat as a teenager.
That makes sense to me. I'm sorry, but that does... Like, it's... I understand, like, you know, it looks yucky or whatever, but, like, it makes sense, okay? It does.
It doesn't make sense to me. I was fat as a teenager. I didn't get to wear the skimpy teenage stuff, and most of my teenage friends, even who could do it, didn't. And the fact that so many trans women need to do it just tells me that they have a super pornified view of what being a woman is and what's exciting about being a woman.
No, that makes sense, actually. I don't know, for me, maybe I just, like, I don't really have the conception of clothing as sexualized that rad femmes do. Maybe that's a sex-positive position. Maybe it's a male point of view. But, like, that's, I think, been my problem with this, through this discussion. Because, I don't know, like, I just don't care about, like, you know, if something's skimpy or not, or if I try to, you know, I try to not care about that. I've been told to not care about that by at least liberal feminism. So like, what am I gonna do? Am I gonna become like the father, like, oh no, you're not going out in that and getting my political approval.
Get your roommate to do that.
I can't do anything about that, but
well, no, you have to understand that radical feminists are like, they've been like porn pilled or whatever, right? So like everybody else is just like, you know, you're a fish in the water, right? Like, you don't see the water.
Yeah.
So like, most of us don't really see how pornified the culture has become, because it's a slow boil, right? Like, it started, you know, who knows when it really started, but like, you can kind of trace it. Like, the book Female Chauvinist Pigs kind of starts it at like Girls Gone Wild, being like those infomercials just being on TV all the time, and just like slowly, and then there was like the Playboy like merchandising stuff, just like young girls and just women in general, like skimpier and sexier, became more and more appropriate, which is like, okay, fine, like, women, I don't disagree that women should be able to wear whatever they want. But I also can see that the people who are really encouraging this don't have women's best interests in mind. And I can also see that once you've been kind of, you know, whatever, porn pilled, turf pilled, swerve pilled, whatever, on this, you don't have the desire to do it. So it's kind of like a lack of information. Like, if people really knew the dirty details of Playboy, of Pornhub, of porn in general, I think that they would just be less inclined to participate in that, you know, and that is an individual thing. It's just like, once you see that stuff, you're just like, why would I do that?
Right.
But that's not like nudity is bad. Like, somehow I feel like nudity is more wholesome than like most of these like club clothes and stuff.
Hmm. Uh, yeah, it is just for me. Just like I'm still just trying to understand a lot of the particular radical feminist sex negative position. I would like be sex critical, maybe not in the same Dworkin sense, but um, definitely there are. I would not be blindly sex positive. Hopefully not. I do want to finish up just the drag kids thing though. So like is like like I understand there's been obvious instances of it, but is the particular kind of drag that drag kids do really sexualized on their own terms if adults are not involved?
Mm, like, what do you mean?
Like say like we take out the instance of Desmond dancing for money, or Lactatia with whatever nude adult queen that was, um and just like what they're doing, like a documentary thing with that now. Just like everything I've seen of it has mostly just been just like whatever, just the abstracted version of drag, which is mostly, I don't know, about like confidence, and expressing yourself and stuff, like, which I understand is vague. um but like again, like I like the most sexualized thing I've seen is like how like Desmond has like some yellow false eyelashes on at some point, and I'm like, I mean, I understand, I guess, that like that can be a sexual signifier, but like I don't understand. I don't know if we're getting too abstract with this, or if we're getting not abstract enough at a
I mean,
certain point, because I can't wrap my head around what the necessary problem is with a lot of this stuff.
the kid literally calls himself Lactatia.
Yeah, okay, that's fucked up.
Like, it's clear to me that he's been exposed to drag culture, and is it him or Desmond who's talking about fucking ketamine? Like,
I don't remember that either way.
yeah, I think it was Lactatia, like hanging out with some old men and like making jokes about ketamine and stuff. Like, this is clearly just like a kid who's been
Hmm.
exposed to a really adult world.
Right, which I don't even necessarily like. I'm not like that kid's parent or anything, and like I'm again like I'm not a parent, at least not yet. But like my instinct right now would not be particularly sheltering somebody like, or sheltering a kid rather than letting them experience things. But at the same time, like this is not a woke example of anything that we need to be putting out there.
Yeah, and I will say, in defense of most liberals, initially there was, or like at least the SJWs, like in some of the groups that I'm in, they don't like this.
Really.
They're not fans of the drag kids. They may have initially defended it, but as more and more came out, they were just like, no, this is bad. This should stop. This kid is being abused.
Hmm.
I think it's actually at this point more like the normie liberals who don't know the full story, who are just like gonna be quick to just
Hmm.
defend it just on a general desire to defend things that are tied to like Pride Month.
Right. Yeah, I don't think I can, at the end of the day, actually make an argument against you know this being seen the same way as regular female child pageantry, which everybody doesn't like now. um, and
Right.
like, yeah,
I have
the
to I
only
have to make a very turfy confession. Uh,
okay.
well, it's like bad. Like, I should be
Oh, it's
expelled.
bad, is it?
Toddlers and Tiaras is one of my favorite shows.
Oh, I mean, oh no, I get it. I get it. It's like it's the just trash voyeurism, really, right?
Yeah, totally. And like I look at my daughter and I think like I could coach that kid. I could get her to nationals.
You wouldn't.
But I couldn't.
Now
I
you
wouldn't.
cancel. That's worse than what I said.
I couldn't possibly subject her to it. But sometimes I'm like, smile, smile. Now wave. Now do the kiss your fingers and make a heart.
You're teaching that kid gender.
No, I mean, she's 18 months. She's really bad at everything.
She fucking sucks.
Yeah, she sucks. She's got a great smile, though.
She's a bimbo. She's dumb but pretty.
Yeah, terrible. Don't talk about my daughter that way. Only I can. But yeah, I'm sorry. Continue.
I think we're really wrapping up. Really.
Yeah, we'll just finish with my harrowing confession.
I'll put a phaser over the whole thing.
No, that's okay. Let them know. I will atone for my
Turf gang,
sins.
turf gang, turf gang, turf gang, turf gang, turf gang, turf gang. Spend 10 on a rat girl raid. That boy loved dude S-strays. I fuck a bitch, I'm a lesbian. Couldn't buy my bitch, no wedding ring. Till 15, still got played. Turf gang, turf gang, turf gang. Turf gang, turf gang, turf gang, turf gang, turf gang, turf gang, turf gang. Spend 10 on a rat girl raid. That boy loved dude S-strays. I fuck a bitch, I'm a lesbian. Couldn't buy my bitch, no wedding ring. Till 15, still gap wage. Turf gang, turf gang, turf gang.